Coaches, what's going on? It's Coach Ian Tatum here, back with the Tatum Clinic series. Today, I am here with Coach Pachucy. He is from Mid Valley High School. He's the office coordinator there in Pennsylvania. Coach has been very gracious to come on, and we'll talk about how he reads his passing game. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Coach. Thanks for having me. I know we did a clinic, maybe it was last year or a couple of years ago, and I'm happy to be asked back and talk a little bit about what we do at Mid Valley.
Yeah, man. Well, let's go ahead and hop right into it, and let's talk about some passing game. That's something that I want to more dive into because being an offensive line coach, like, hey, running game, cool. But passing game, I know enough to be, I know theories, I know enough to be dangerous, but I want to like dive in wholeheartedly. So let's learn a
Gotcha.
little bit about passing game today.
Good time to do it. Good time to do it. So,
Yeah.
first and foremost, I have that presentation, Coach. If you want to pull that up, um, I think it's helpful to know just a little bit about the background of the person who's talking. I'm a son of a football coach, so I grew up pretty much on the sidelines right from the time I could walk. My dad brought me everywhere, and it was really cool growing up in that kind of environment. He coached at the high school level, and then he coached at Lackawanna College as well. So I got to see some pretty high level football over the years, and I think that it made me appreciate the game, it made me appreciate coaching. Mark Duda, who's the head coach there, is one of my good friends to this day, and one of my family's good friends to this day. And it's just such a cool, unique community that we're a part of here. I did play and coach at Susquehanna University after playing at Scranton Prep. It's Susquehanna University is a D3 school in the middle of Pennsylvania. They actually were the only team to beat the Cortland State Red Dragons this year, who are the D3 national champs. So unfortunately, they got knocked out of the playoffs earlier this year, but they did beat the national champs. So I was really excited about that. I coached there for 3 seasons. I got hurt as a sophomore, and then the staff asked me to stay on as a student assistant. So I stayed on as a student assistant for 2 years. And then when the new head coach came in, Tom Perkovich, who's still there, doing an incredible job. He hired me as the quarterback coach there. So I was a quarterback coach there for 1 season. I was tight end and assistant OL the season before. So got to learn a lot. And then I got out of coaching. You can see the last bullet point down there is I'm a musician. My family owned a small business back here. My dad needed some help. I ended up kind of touring most of the country playing music in between coaching stops there. And then in 2020, when everything sort of shut down, one of a person who played for my dad got the head coaching job at Mid Valley High School. My dad's an alum at Mid Valley, and he played there and was the head coach there in the early 90s. And he said, look, just come for 1 year, see if you like it. And in 2020, it was hard. Like in Pennsylvania, you couldn't practice with a ball or anything for the first couple of practices. It was a really tough season. We only won 1 game. We went like 1-5. And then the next year, 2011, we went 9-3. Or sorry, pardon me, 2021, we went 9-3, which was the first winning season at the school since 2011. And I think the second or third best record in school history. We had a down year in 2022, and then last year we bounced back a little bit in 2023. And I think we're bringing back 10 players on both sides of the ball this year, 10 starters on both offense and defense. So we're really excited about this season. I also coach track and strength and conditioning at the same school district. And I'm a full-time business, computers, and information technology teacher, not in this particular district, but I am in the education field as well. And I do want to stress to anybody watching this, first of all, subscribe to Coach Tatum's YouTube channel. That's really important. He's putting out some really good stuff. And number 2, please reach out to me if you have any questions at all. You can DM me on Twitter at Coach Pachucy. You could send me an email, gpachucyfootball@gmail.com. Last time I did one of these clinics, I ended up meeting up with a coach in England, and we still talk pretty regularly. I love talking football. I want to know what you're doing that you feel like you're really successful with. And I feel like if we continue to help each other out, we'll be in a good spot. So our offensive philosophy, and I think it's important to start here before we talk about what we do in the pass game, because I think what we do can fit in almost any offense. So I say we are a multiple college style offense. with ball control being our top priority and influences of a spread offense. And I did a clinic one time where I said we were the slowest no huddle team in America, and I mean it. So our whole philosophy is we're going to be no huddle, but at our level of football, our receivers also play defensive backs, right? We have a lot of two-way players. So we were asking them to run routes and cover guys and then come back to a huddle and then run back out to their alignments. It just seemed like it was kind of silly to have them do that. So in 2021, we did move to a no huddle style of offense. It's cool the way that we do it, I think, because it allows you to go from very, very slow to very, very fast, very quickly. Like we never have to spend time installing a 2-minute drill because we already have all of the mechanisms in place for it. But really, I'm trying to snap the ball with maybe 10 seconds or less on the play clock almost every time, unless we're trying to, go quick, which we could do. But really, our goal is to control the ball. And you're probably wondering, what's a college style offense? Well, I used to say pro style, and then I was like, well, we're really not doing all the stuff that the pros are doing, but we are doing some of the stuff that colleges are doing. I think if you take a look at maybe Michigan, I think is a pretty good example of what our offense is. Bama before the coaching change is probably close to what we're trying to do on offense. A lot of it's based off of what LSU did in 2019. Lackawanna College is a big influence for us. So is Muhlenberg College, where my offensive coordinator and college coach is now. We take a lot of stuff from them. We take a lot of stuff from Susquehanna, where I was. So I say it's more college style than pro style. And we will be in the gun. We will be in the pistol. We will be under center. We're going to utilize as many different looks as we possibly could. But our philosophy boils down to 4 main points. And this is how I think about it when I'm calling plays in a game. Number 1, we want to run the ball, and we want to be able to do it without any RPO tags. So I need to first figure out if I could beat this team just by calling run plays. And if I could, then we're just going to continue to run the ball. I played quarterback in high school and college. So everybody thinks like, when I was first kind of coming into this, like, oh, they're going to throw the ball 50 times a game. I think we were 67-33 run to pass last year because we had a really great running back and a really great offensive line. We had our senior quarterback was great for us in the run game last year before he got hurt. So I want to run the ball. It's number 1. Okay, the run gets stopped. What's my response to it, right? It's kind of like the if-then play calling, or they're having a backup plan. I got to get to my quick game. I got to get to our RPO. So what we'll do really this year, we're going to have more of a focus on it is we're going to chart who's tackling the ball carrier. Hey, was it the Sam backer? Was it the Mike backer? Was it the Will backer? Okay, what can we do in the RPO game or in the quick game to neutralize him? Right, that's number 2. And then we want to incorporate play actions and timely shots that are based off of our run game, right? So if we're running a ton of inside zone, we should have an inside zone play action ready to go. And then finally, number 4 is our drop back and our sprint out game, which I think is important for us and something that we spend a lot of time on in the offseason. I think it's something that we have to call a little bit more next year. I didn't do a great job of getting to all of our drop back and sprint out stuff this season. And, looking back, I think there were opportunities for us to call passes in earlier down and distance situations, which I think sometimes in high school, you get a little bit nervous making those calls sometimes. So we're definitely going to look forward to that next year and work on kind of, putting some better drop back concepts together. Now, when we were sitting down at the end of this season, I was going through the film and I was going through how we teach things. I always kind of had this sort of system in mind where, hey, certain throws are pre-snap reads, certain throws we're reading a defender, certain throws we have a progression, and then there's kind of a combination of all these things. But I had never actually put pen to paper and sort of written it down, right? And I realized that I probably wasn't teaching it as well as I could probably teach it. We had a situation this year where we had a senior quarterback who was a 3-year starter for our program. He went down after 5 games. We had a sophomore step in and play, and he ended up playing very well. They both had really nice years. I think the senior ended up completing 62% of his passes, and the sophomore ended up completing like 59% of his passes. But I was realizing a lot, like watching it on tape, we would call different, concepts, and I'd be like, hey, where do your eyes need to be here? And they would in general have the right answer, right? They knew what part of the field to look at. But if I said specifically, hey, on our slant flat concept, like, who are we reading? And they were all kind of like, oh, just like the guy in that area. And I was like, you're not wrong, but you're not really speaking like a football language. So when I sat down, we started reviewing things. I said, okay, our reads fit into 4 of these buckets. And I love the bucket concept. I think Ryan Day from Ohio State had that, and everybody kind of works it into their offense somehow here. So I actually went through our entire playbook and I said, okay, these are our access reads, right? These are our pre-snap reads. These are our key reads. These are our progression reads, and these are our combo reads. And then I made a set of rules pretty much that we follow for those, so that our athletes, our quarterbacks, know exactly what they're supposed to be looking for, where their eyes should be on every play. And it's written down somewhere so that they actually go back and study it, right? And it's one of like the first things I think that you learn in education is that everybody learns a different way. So I always try to have these things in writing, in a presentation, or like a playbook or a manual format, so like kids can read it at any time. I tried to have some kind of tape on it. Now, this kind of concept I don't think lends itself to tape. It's more of just how we're kind of coaching it. But I think you could use game film or practice film as a good way to review a lot of this. Like kind of pause the film, like, okay, where should your eyes be on this particular read, right? Where are we looking? What number of the defender are we keying on this play? And then, of course, we like to walk through this. So we started our quarterback school last week. So this week was the second week of it. And really, we're not talking about plays yet, but once we kind of progress into it, right, we'll actually set up receivers where the routes are going to be, and we'll have the quarterbacks work through those progressions. So actually getting a chance to work on it before you get into a team period or before you get into even a group period is a good idea. Just trying to really enforce where our eyes need to be and what we need to be looking at. So when we start installing our offense, I do my best to try to install all of the buckets at the same time. So like we might come in day one and put in all of our access throws. And then we might try to put in, the next day, all of our key throws. And then we might try to put in any of our progression throws and then combo throws. Now, it doesn't always work that way just because of, sometimes I like to marry the run game to it as well. But I think it's a good way to teach by concept, right? So you could say, hey, today we are just worried about access. Tomorrow we're just worried about keys. Today we're just worried about progressions. And, progressions might take, or combo reads might take a couple days that you have to install things at. But I think that's a smart way to do it. I think it's a very organized way to do it, and something that we try to do as well. So when we're starting out, the first type of read that we'll normally talk about or normally teach is our access read. So this is our pre-snap read. And I tell the quarterbacks, it's really simple. On the snap of the football, can I make the throw? Right? So this is usually quick game or pre-snap RPOs for us. It could be hitches, it could be speed outs, it could be slants, it could be an ISO route to a 3x1 in the backside of trips. We'll do, we could even call a fade being an access read. And I think on the first screen here, we said, if you're on the diagrams, if you see an M or an A, M stands for matchup, A stands for access. Matchup is just, do we think our kid is better than the other kid? And can we just kind of throw it up to him and see if you can make a play? And access is this concept of, can I make the throw, right? Can I get the throw out quickly? We use this to kind of evaluate where our quarterbacks are in learning our system. So we say by the end of ninth grade, our 7th, 8th, and 9th grade players, they should really be able to make access reads pretty consistently, right? I should have them, if I'm going to watch a junior high game, I should have them to the point where we could call our hitch concept, and I look over at them and they make the correct access read, and it's a way for us to evaluate, are our students or are our athletes learning what we're sort of putting out there? And I think it's a good way to kind of tell a kid, hey, I think you're a little bit behind here, or on the contrary, maybe they're really far ahead. Our kid who's going to be the starter this year, he's probably was ahead of this as a freshman, which is why we brought him up to varsity and why he played, I think, pretty well last year. So there's a lot that goes into it, but starting here, it's a good way to sort of start to evaluate how our kids are doing. So when we talk about access reads, right, one of the first plays that we'll put in is our hitch concept, where everybody's just running a hitch, right? And it's really, really, really simple for our quarterbacks. If we feel like we can make a throw to a particular person based on alignment, you're going to make that throw. So if you have a corner who is 6 yards off or 8 yards off our X receiver, and the outside linebacker that's covering our F receiver is sort of inside the box over here in this area right there, you could throw either one of those. Doesn't matter who, just, kind of catch and get the ball out there. It's really, really simple. We try not to overcoach anything. I want these kids to be able to react and not think. I also want them to be able to take a little bit off their plate, because I know I put a lot in there. So we're not going to overcoach it. I'm just going to say, who do you think in this situation has the best chance to catch the ball and get us 4 to 5 yards? That's what we're most worried about. That's what we're most worried about right there. So the hitch concept, the speed out concept, where we just, the X and the Z would run speed outs instead. Those are access reads for us. Now, we'll also tag the same concept with an RPO. So if I'm teaching quick game, quote unquote, drop back, where we're, catching and throwing or taking a 3-step drop from under center, and I'm teaching, a pre-snap RPO, I'm essentially teaching it the same way, right? So we'll say, hey, if this concept is called with inside zone, right, or split zone, which we're showing here, you still read it just like you would with a quick game. Are they giving me a free throw anywhere? Is anyone covering the X? Is anyone covering the F? Is anyone covering the Z? If not, hand the ball off, right? If they are being covered, if you feel like you can't make the throw, hand the ball off. If they're not covering someone, or you feel like you can make the throw the ball, right? So it's a really easy way to give ourselves built-in answers here, right? Because maybe they're running some type of fire zone. We saw that a lot more this year, where, they're bringing pressure, but they're dropping into 3 under 3 deep. Well, if they're running a twist or something up front, they're high school kids. It's going to, mess the blocking assignments up just a little bit. So having these easy access throws on the outside is a really easy way to kind of protect your basic run game. Might protect your basic run game. Now, I should note, just like schematically, or when we're actually getting a play in or out, we always tag the RPO before the run if it's a pre-snap read, and we tag it after the run if it's a post-snap read. So in our system, we would call this play R dot thunder zone right. R dot thunder zone right. So the players would see that signal or call it, hear the call kind of coming in, and they would be able to say, okay, it's pre-snap read because it's before the run, right? Because it's before the run. So our quarterback knows, okay, I'm not keying on any particular defender. I am just looking to see if I can make any of these throws. And if I can, or if I'm uncomfortable, I'm going to hand the ball off. So this leads us into our next thing, right? Our next bucket of reads here. And those are the key reads. So a key read for us is keying on a single defender to make a decision. So we use this in all facets of our pass game. We use this in our quick game. We use this in our post-snap RPOs. We use this in our drop back. We use this in our safety isolation shots that we have. Slant flat, double slants, the smash concept, the post-in concept, we'll all use a key read on this. And in the RPO game, when we talk about actual RPOs, post-snap RPOs, we tag the defender that we're keying, so our quarterback knows exactly who we're looking at. I noticed this year we had not done that this season, and we were calling RPOs. And my quarterback actually came in practice one day, and he was like, coach, like, who am I actually reading on this? Like, I know my eyes have to be, backside or front side, depending on how we have it all tagged up, but who are we actually reading on this? So that was something else that we sat down this offseason and tried to work through just a little bit. So I think that is going to help us a lot this year, just to get our quarterback kind of on the same page with what we're looking at. We also feel that 10th grade level players should be able to master this. And maybe not in 10th grade, the post-snap RPO stuff. I think that's harder than maybe just the quick game or the drop back or sprint out or something like that. But we do feel like a 10th grader, for the most part, should be able to master this skill. So when we talk about key reads, right, we're talking about reading a particular defender. So usually when we call quick game that I know, like we have a particular coverage beater that we like, we'll try to split the field with it. So slant flat, for instance, is really good against cover 3. It's not very good against cover 2 because they could just exchange the slant and the flat. And then double slant is better against cover 2 because you could pull that hook defender inside and then hopefully open up the first or second window there for the slant route. So we know that when we install our double slant, that we are looking at the hook defender. That's our key. So this is our actual install sheet right here, the actual legitimate install sheet from how we install this play. And we'll put right on the sheet who they should be looking at. So the circled area here says hook defender. So we'll tell the quarterback, hey, if we're getting cover 2, you should go to the double slant side, and the key is the hook defender. So they need to be able to look at the defense and figure out what person is playing in what field zone. So when we start our quarterback school and we start installing this, we show a picture of the field. And it's a big diagram of the field, and it has everything labeled. It says hashes, numbers, top of the numbers, bottom of the numbers. These are the pylons. This is where we kick extra points from. The X on the 40 is where we kick off from, right? We leave no stone unturned, right? We go through the entire field. We know exactly what we want to be looking for. They need to know all the landmarks. And then on the next slide, we put a picture of the field and we overlay field zones on it. So, hey, here are the flat zones. Here are the hook zones. Here are the seam areas. Here's the deep third, deep half, deep quarters, right? The whole zone in cover 2 is right in the middle. And what we'll do is we'll show it to them. We'll talk about it. The next time we meet, we'll have them actually fill out a blank sheet with all the field zones on it. These are the flats. These are the hooks. This is the hole. These are the seams, right? So then they know it on paper, right? And then when we go out onto the field, we're lucky enough to have a turf field now, so we can go out and pretty much use it year-round, weather pending. It's I think 7 or 8 degrees out today in northeastern Pennsylvania. But when we do get out there, we'll be like, all right, hey, show me where the flat zone is. And they'll point and they'll say it's over there. So by doing that, right, we're first of all telling them where to put their eyes. They know where their eyes sort of need to be in any particular situation. And then when we get to actually installing this, right, or working on it in the off season, I'll put a player out here where the first slant would be. I'll put a player in here where we call it a lookie, where the lookie would end up. And then they don't even have to be running. They could just be kind of angled inside. We'll put a hook defender right there and just say, okay, as the quarterback is taking his drop, you take away that slant or this slant, and the quarterback needs to throw opposite of it, right? So now not only do they know it on paper, right, they're able to identify it on the actual field. And then when we get into, installing it or working on it in an indie or really small pod or group work, now we're putting in a drill that's going to require them to look to the correct area, identify the correct defender, and make a decision on that defender, right? Same thing with the flat defender. So they know when I'm talking about the flat defender, they need to be looking in the flat area and see, okay, who could possibly be covering this? And, you go over all the basics, if you see the corner pressed up and outside leverage and turned inside a little bit, he's probably the flat defender. If you see the corner off just a little bit and the outside backers, just over number 2 or a little bit outside number 2, that's probably the flat defender, right? You might see that in quarters. You might see that in a cover 3 or a cover 9 where they're 3 under, 3 deep. So just by identifying those field areas, we're able to, kind of help our quarterback identify who he's reading just a little bit better. Now, these are tied to the concept. So on Lion, the quarterback just needs to know, if we're calling quick game Lion with no RPO tag on it, they need to know they need to find the hook defender. If we're calling quick game slant flat here, Sorry, double slant is lion for us and slant flat is dragon. So if you hear me say that, I know if we're calling dragon on this side, they need to know that they're looking for the flat defender. Now, for RPOs, it's a little bit different because while we could still probably pick on that defender, usually what I'm trying to do is take advantage or let's say nullify a defender that's giving us problems. So we use a system called the point system in our run game, in our pass pro game, to identify our line rules. I took this from Ray Dayton and Josh Pardini at Lackawanna College. They did a clinic on it, maybe for the Virginia Football Coaches Association a couple years back. And really, I said to them, I go, look, you guys get all these kids in who academically sometimes aren't the best. They get them on August 1st, and then they're playing a game by the end of August, and they're smoking teams. They're like 400 yards a game at one point. I think it was like 435 2 or 3 years ago. I was like, how are you doing it? Like, how are you getting, assignment football done? They had this whole system down where, kind of like in the NFL, they're identifying a Mike linebacker called the point. And, all of their rules are sort of based off that. I love the system. It's been great for us. It has eliminated a lot of mistakes for our offensive line assignment wise. Our kids are now super comfortable with it. And it's really, really easy and has been great for us. So we will tell the quarterback on any RPO play who we're reading. We'll actually signal it into him to know who we're reading. So, if the run is going to the right side, the front side is the point in the point in the plus. The back side is the minus and the double minus. We also have tags if we want to run third level RPOs, if we want to RPO as safety. We use boss for backside or boundary safety, and we use fuss for field side safety. Okay, so when we're calling post-snap RPOs, so we call pre-snap RPOs, those go before the run. The post-snap RPOs go after the run. So this is our snag concept, right? We love running post-snap RPOs on gap scheme plays or plays where we have pullers. I think pre-snap RPOs, especially at the high school level, when backers or safeties don't see pullers, they don't react nearly as quickly as they might when there is a puller. So this is just buck sweep. And it's probably more Packer sweep than buck sweep because we're, sort of student body writing it here. But on this concept, double pullers, right? I would say most high school linebackers are taught to read the puller, right? Or at least acknowledge that the pullers are going a particular way. So we might call this play when the Mike linebacker has been making the tackle on sweep, right? So at the start of the game, we'll line up and we'll just call, sweep to the right. And, that guy might come unblocked and come and make the play in the backfield, and we'll go, okay, who made that play? Well, it was the minus or the Mike backer. It was the backside inside backer. Okay, let's call the same play. Let's tag the snag RPO to it. Right. And if he flies in to make that play, there's not going to be anybody over the top to make the stop on the completion. Right. The other thing that pulling people does on post snap RPO plays is that it takes a little bit longer for those players to get down the field. So we feel like it could stretch the RPO just a little bit longer, which we feel is good for us and eliminates on, illegal man downfield calls. So if this were a pre-snap RPO, the pass tag will come before the run tag. This is a post-snap RPO, so the pass tag is coming after the run. So this formation for us is called dose. So this would be our dose, sweep right, minus shark, right? So the minus tells us that we are looking at the backside inside linebacker. Shark is what we call our snag concept, right? It was after the run, right? Our dose, sweep right, minus shark, right? So we are telling the quarterback everything he needs to look at when the read is happening, who he's reading, right? Post-snap RPOs there. We do the same thing in our drop back and sprint out game, right? Now, we're not going to tag the defender in drop back or sprint out. You need to know that based on the concept, because really here, if the outside linebacker were to make the play, right? If the outside linebacker were to make the play, we could tag it double minus, and then this flat route might actually be live, because if he, shuffles in to take the snag away, the flat is going to be wide open, right? And that's one of the beauties, I think, of this system, is that really on any run play, we could tag any of our route combos or any single route tags, tag any defender, right? And it really doesn't even matter what the play is in the backfield. You could read it at any time, right? So it simplifies that from the RPO standpoint, allows us to read different points. In quick game, called quick game, drop back, sprint out, they need to know what defender they're reading based on the concept we're calling, right? So we know on smash, we're high-lowing the flat zone defender, right? So if that flat, defender comes up and covers the hitch, great. Now we got to throw the corner based on the safety's leverage. If that flat defender gets depth behind the hitch and the hitch is open, throw it to the hitch, right? Hitch them till they die, right? Keep going, keep throwing the hitches. We'll take those short passes any day of the week, right? So key reads, just looking at one defender. Our safety isolation shots. Now we're just picking on a safety. So, one of the most common shots that are out there is this post in Mills concept. Some people call it zipper. Some people call it ghost. Some people call it Mills, whatever it is for y'all. We're just reading the strong safety, right? If the strong safety or the single high free safety drives down on the in, we're throwing the post over the top. If he stays deep, we are throwing the in underneath him, right? So we're just really looking at one person there. There's really no progression, right? It's just one single target. Now, moving into progression reads, right? This is keying a particular area or areas to make a decision. So we will use this in our drop back game. We will use progression reads in our naked and nude game as well. So when we're movement play action on the outside, but mostly it's in our drop back or pocket play action areas where we'll exclusively use it. And mesh is probably the best example of how we teach a true progression read. So once again, evaluating the quarterbacks, we feel like 11th grade players should be able to master this skill. And once again, if they're ahead of that, right, if you're, you got a 10th grader who can make progression reads, great. They're ahead of where we expect them to be at this time. And I think, kind of going back to this, another thought that just kind of came to my head is, it also helps us in terms of, okay, like this year we had a senior quarterback go down halfway through the season. We had to play a sophomore quarterback, right, who was, I think, ready, but would have been more ready this year kind of coming up. But what ended up happening was, okay, maybe he's not ready to deal with, a full progression read. So I had to limit my call sheet down to more key reads, or I had to, incorporate more RPOs where we could, simplify it for him a little bit, because this is hard to do, right? This is hard to do. So when we're talking progressions, we're talking about keying a particular area. We are not looking at the receivers. We are looking in the area to which the receiver is going. Okay, area to which the receiver is going. So let me explain what I mean on our mesh concept. Okay, so when we read mesh, this version of mesh, when we read mesh, we have a 1, a 2, and a 3, a 1, a 2, and a 3. They kind of form two triangles on either side of the ball, right? I tell our quarterbacks, you should start on the side that you feel has the best matchups, right? So if we have a stud at Z receiver, right, and we don't feel like the safety in the corner are particularly good on that side, start with the post, right? If we feel like we're getting man, or that, this running back out of the backfield might get covered by a linebacker, right? Or we're in the red zone and they're bringing pressure and we're expecting man, then yeah, start on the railroad route out here to the running back, right? That's really, really, really important that our quarterback first identify that. But now we're just looking at this like a true progression. So on number ones, right, on our first read, we want them looking in that deep third, deep half, deep quarter area, depending on what coverage he's seeing, right? If his eyes are to that area, he is going to see if the safety comes down or if the safety goes back to throw that, right? So I'm not telling him look at the safety. I'm telling him look at that area. So if he's throwing to the right, I want to see, and he's making a decision to start his read on that side, I want to see his front shoulder and his eyes on the right-hand side. right? And on mesh, we move it outside into back to outside, right? So 1 to 2 to 3, 1 to 2 to 3. So once again, okay, he doesn't like 1. The safety takes it away. Well, if the safety's here and he gets pulled this way, there's a chance that that deep sit or over the ball is going to be open in the middle of the field, right? If that gets closed up over here, like one of the linebackers takes it away, there's one less person over here to run the shallow route. Or if they're playing man, you get a true, inside mesh here underneath. Maybe one gets picked off. It's been a pretty good play for us. Once again, one of those plays that I want to call a little bit more this past year. But looking at it, I'm not telling him to look at a particular person. I'm telling him to look at a particular area, right? So they know based on the progression who should be first, where their eyes need to be in that particular area. And just like we did with key reads, we'll put receivers out there. We'll have the receivers jog through routes or move through their progression. And we'll put defenders out there and just kind of say, hey, play the concept. Like you're going to see the routes coming at you, play the concept, see where we're going. I think progression reads are really good to rep in 7-on-7s. I think progression reads are probably good to rep in, the old school routes on air where you have everybody throwing 4 or 5 quarterbacks back there, letting the ball rip. Sometimes it has to be the coaches at our level because we really only have 2 quarterbacks on our roster right now. But at least everybody's sort of getting work and working through the actual progression. So once again, progressions, we're just looking at particular areas of the field. Right. Not looking at the receivers. I think that's a common misconception when coaches put this in. We're looking at different field areas to make our decisions. Now, combo reads, I think that, in a perfect world for us, this would be kind of where our pass game would live. Because I think, you can make an argument for any of these concepts that they could be true progression or access or, key reads or something like that. We decided, and I think you as a coaching staff need to sit down and determine, hey, how are we working through this, right? What does this look like? How do we need to teach this, right? And we just determined that these are our combo read. These are our 3 big combo read plays. And once again, we feel like by the time a kid's a senior, they should be able to make this. They should be able to pretty much have a mastery of pretty much the whole offense. So here's what we mean about combos, right? It could be really anything. So, when we teach our stick concept, our 3x1 stick concept, we say that the outside receivers are access or matchup throws. So for instance, the backside receiver on a hitch or on a speed out or even on a slant. Once again, access for us means, can I make this throw? If yes, throw it, right? If yes, throw it. Let's say that we have a corner pressed up here, 1 high safety, and we feel really good about our Z receiver on the pressed up corner. Take the shot, right? He's got to release outside because that's one of our rules on the stick play, right? But take the shot. That's okay. So we have a matchup or we have our access over here. Then we have a true progression read, right? So we're looking speed out to stick, right? Speed out to stick. So, you don't like we don't like the matchup or the access. Okay, we're going to get our eyes to the speed out. We're going to get our eyes to the stick area, right? And we're going to make a decision sort of based on that, right? So it's a combination of our access and our progression reads, right? On our sprint out concepts, right? Most of the time on sprint out, we have some kind of key read on the front and we have backside crossers, which are a progression read for us, right? So just like on smash from drop back, the mirrored double smash concept, we're keying the flat defender. If he drops off and we come around the corner here and the hitch is open, we're going to throw the hitch. If he stays up on the hitch and the corner, is open and we can throw off safety leverage, we're going to do that. And then if those 2 are closed, okay, let's look to the short cross area, the drag area. Let's look to the deep cross area to see, maybe the safety moved off the hash and we feel like the deep cross area is going to be wide open, right? That comes with repetitions, right? It just comes with repetitions. So as we're over here, right, once again, now we have a key read into a progression read, right? So we'll tell the kids, hey, this is a key progression read. Read the key first. And then if the key, for the whole thing front side is shut down, we're working the progression back to the backside, right? I saw a lot of people say that Y cross is, a true progression read for them. And I could totally understand that, right? You could go, 1 to the go or the skinny post here. You could go 2 to the out, 3 to the crosser, 4 to the dig route. We felt in our system it was more of a combo read, right? This is your matchup and access over here. So, hey, if we like the matchup on the vertical route, take the vertical route. We like the access throw here, because we almost teach this kind of like a stick, or an option route, I should say, by the slot here, where, okay, if there's, a safety or a corner outside of you, we're going to sort of sit it down, right? We could sit it down if we have to, don't run to get covered. So for us, the way that we read this is like, hey, if we could take this, one of these two, either the shot or the easy throw to the boundary, let's take one of those two. And then let's work back and back, right? And the reason that we do this on Y cross, because once again, you're probably thinking, well, coach, this is just a progression. Then you're telling them, okay, if not here, then go to here. If not here, then, kind of work back. Yeah, you're right. But the way that we teach it is differently. It's informing our quarterback's thought process. The matchup is, if we like the matchup, take it. The access is, if I can easily make this throw, I'm going to take it, right? So this helps layer our teaching rather than just telling a kid, hey, it's 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, right? We're saying, if you like the matchup on 1, take it. He's going to see that M in his playbook and go, M matchup. If I like the matchup, I'm allowed to take that shot. Okay. He's going to see the A in his playbook and he's going to go, access. If that's open, I could just easily make the throw. Then he's going to see 3 and 4 and he's going to go, okay, so those are the progressions. So the boundary side, the short side of the field for us is shut down. I don't like the matchup. I don't think I can make the throw. I'm going to hang my head there to make sure I'm right. And then, boop, I'm going to switch to 3, and then I'm going to switch to 4, and then we have the check down coming out of the backfield on the backside. So for us, in terms of our teaching progression, we feel it's more helpful for our quarterbacks to learn this as access to progression. So we'll literally label this. We'll call it cross. We'll say retype access progression, right? And they'll know, okay, access, can I make this throw? Progression, I'm working through different areas to see what receivers popping open. So once again, we feel like this covers all of our passing game, right? Can we make this throw? Do we like the matchup? Is it very easy? Are we keying a particular defender to make a decision? Is it a true progression read? Am I looking through different areas? Or is it a combo of these? We teach them one by one, right? And we try to install all of those plays at one time so that they understand what we're trying to accomplish with the different types of reads. And then after that, right? After that, we're going to, in practice, work on these different types of reads, right? Before we even get to a team period, whether that be in group work and 7-on-7 work, or anything like that, before we actually get to a team or a scrimmage period. If anyone has any questions, I hope this was helpful for you. If you want to take a look at how we classify everything in our offense, or how much pass game we carry, or, if you're in the area, if you're in the Scranton area or the Northeast area and you want to come by and see how we do any of this, right? Please reach out to me. My DMs are open on Twitter. You can email me at gpachucyfootball@gmail.com. I'm happy to talk through almost anything. I will give you access to everything that we have. We could watch a little bit of film on this if you'd like to as well. I think it's a good system. I think it's been helpful for our quarterbacks. And I think it could help any style of offense, really. You could be in a wing T system and still utilize a lot of this stuff that we're talking about here. But thank you for your time, everybody. I really appreciate it. I hope you took something away from this. And if you do have any questions, please reach out. I think you're muted there, Coach, just so you know.
I do that every time. It ticks me off. But I have pages of notes right here. I took a whole, almost 2 pages of notes, but I appreciate everything you just went over. I learned a lot. I was trying to facilitate some other things while I was doing it, but I was also writing down. But I appreciate how detailed it was as well. So appreciate that. Again, sure. If you want to reach out to Coach, hit him up. He's been gracious to come on and talk to us, so I know he'll answer any questions that you got. But Coach, is there anything else you want to tell the people? But we got to keep it rolling.
That's fine. No, subscribe to Coach Tatum's channel. He's doing a lot of great stuff. I've been on my New Year, New Me fitness challenge here. So what I do is, as I'm walking on the treadmill trying to burn off the weekend calories, I've been pulling up clinics. So I have a bunch now that I'm going to take a look at here. But he brings on really great coaches, and one of the things that I really like that you do, Coach, is you bring in smaller school, like high school or college guys that, sometimes it's like, I love Steve Sarkisian. I watched a clinic of his recently, right? And it was like, man, this is great stuff. It's like, man, I'm going to incorporate this and this and this. And then I remembered my sophomore quarterback right now can't make the 25-yard out throw from the opposite hash. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, so I love when, you bring in smaller school guys because they usually have a lot of the similar struggles. And it helps us kind of put some things in perspective. So I really appreciate you and all that you do. This is great stuff. And if you never want to have me on again, I'm always available.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's what I try to do, especially with clinics. Like, if you can take one thing, when it comes to higher level coaches or whatever, I try to really buzzwords like, hey, how do you, indie time, how do you like get efficiency or something like that. But when it comes to like scheme or like stuff like that, I love talking to smaller schools, people that have guys like me. So definitely want to do that. But I mean, could I get higher levels? Possibly, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's like you and I have the same type of kids. I'm gonna talk to you, so it just makes more sense to me. But and plus, I'm giving you an outlet to talk and share, and then get you some looks and stuff like that. So it is what it is.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I appreciate you. And you're doing a great job here. This is great.
Yeah, Coach, I appreciate it, and I'll catch you next time.
All right, sounds good, Coach. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right.